Hello, my name is Bob Ash. I am with the law firm of Riezman Berger in Clayton, Missouri, and this video is part of a series of videos that we are doing to give some basic information about estate planning principles. I practice in the area of trust and estates, which incorporates estate planning, business planning, and trust and estate administration, as well as the tax planning that coordinates with those items. And I am hoping that this information is helpful in helping you understand today's topic, which is what is a will and what is the purpose of the will. So to start with, when it comes to estate planning, the governing principle in determining how property passes at someone's eventual death is the manner in which it's titled. There are different forms of property, and there are a variety of different forms of property ownership. By way of example, one can own property in their own individual name. One can own property in joint names with one or more other persons. A married couple under Missouri law and the laws of some other states can own property as tenants by the entireties. There are some properties that pass all the time by beneficiary designation. A common example of that would be life insurance. Another example would be a retirement plan like an individual retirement account or 401k. Under Missouri law, there are also beneficiary designations, sometimes called TOD for transfer on death or POD for pay on death. So those are all forms of property ownership. And how property is owned will dictate how property passes at the time of someone's death. So where does a will come into all of this? A will governs two primary things, or two primary purposes of a last will and testament. Under Missouri law, the first governing principle of a last will and testament is it distributes property that someone owns in their sole name at the time of death. So I gave a lot of examples of different kinds of property, and a lot of different forms of property ownership. Many of those forms of ownership, joint ownership, life insurance, retirement plans, TOD assets, those kinds of assets do not pass under a will unless for some reason the beneficiary under those beneficiary designations is the estate of the owner of the property. A will deals with property that's owned by one person's owned in one person's individual name, and the will passes that property in accordance with the terms of the will. So that's what a will does. The property that one owns in their individual name and that would pass at death under a will is called someone's probate estate. A probate process is the process of identifying one's assets, a deceased person's assets, determining what liabilities there are, what obligations are outstanding, what needs to be paid, what assets there are that would be part of what's called the probate estate, and then the estate administration process is appointing someone to be in charge of the estate, to make decisions about how to handle those various items, and eventually to distribute items to the persons entitled thereto in accordance with the terms of the will. So that's the basic overview of what a will is. It deals with property that one owns in their individual name at the time of their death. There's one other very important function for a last will and testament, and that is the document in which one can appoint a guardian for a minor child. Under Missouri law, again, if a parent dies away and if there's not a surviving parent and there is a minor child of the deceased person, then the question becomes who is going to be responsible for the care and custody of the minor child. The last will and testament is the proper document by which you can nominate a guardian for your child. That would be the person who would take care of the child, basically serve as a functional parent until the child reaches the age of majority in Missouri, that being the age of 18. So I hope this has been helpful to you in understanding what a will is, what's the purpose of a will, how does property pass at one's death, and if there are additional questions, you can certainly contact our law firm, Riezman Berger. Thank you for listening.